if you're thinking about making that move to Wellington, Florida, if that's the case, this video is for you. My name is Ray Fernandez. I'm with Living in Palm Beach, Florida, powered by eXp Realty. Welcome. If this is the first time to our channel, please consider hitting that subscribe button over in the corner there. While you're at it, ring that bell. What that'll do is that'll help notify you every time we put out a new video. We put out new videos every single week. We talk about all things going on around South Florida, so if you're wondering what it's like to eat, sleep, and drink in this beautiful part of the world we call sunny South Florida, this channel is for you. 15 years ago, my family and I relocated to this beautiful part of the world we call Palm Beach, Florida, and we haven't looked back. Today, we truly find it an honor to help people, perhaps like you, thinking about doing the exact same thing. We've helped so many people relocate to this beautiful part of the world, and we absolutely love it. So if you're thinking about what it's like and what's involved when it comes to relocating to here in South Florida, and you want to reach out to people that have actually done it, well, there's a few ways to reach out to our team. Down below is our email address. That's one great way. Also on the screen you see our phone number. You can either call or text. Two great ways to get a hold of us are in the description and in the comments section. There's a link. Click on that link. What that'll do is that'll help schedule some time so that we can schedule some time to speak over on the phone or through a Zoom call. In whichever case you feel the most comfortable. In any case, we have your back when it comes to relocating to here in sunny South Florida. This week I'm going to go over the pros and the cons of living in the largest village in Florida, Wellington, Florida. Before I get into the good, the bad, and the ugly, let me go over some of the things that in general that you'll want to know about Florida. So as I mentioned, it's the largest village. It's about 65,000 people that live in Wellington. It is in the central part of Palm Beach County. Palm Beach is the most northern part of the Miami metro area. In fact, if you look specifically at Wellington, it is exactly 66 miles north of downtown Miami. So as you broaden your horizon out on a map, Wellington and Palm Beach County are in the southeast part of the state of Florida. Wellington specifically is considered one of the premier towns, or villages I should say, in what they call here in Palm Beach, the western communities. Most of the population in general around Florida and around this area, southeast Florida, live along the coast. But as people have moved down here, they have expanded out west, and Wellington was one of the first places that they decided to move to. Here again in the western communities, you have places also like Royal Palm Beach. You have the newest and fastest city growing in Westlake, and areas like that, which we call the western communities. The first pro when it comes to living in Wellington, Florida, is it is quite unique. Wellington is the winter equestrian capital of the world. In Wellington, polo, the sport polo, which happens to be the oldest team sport in history, is a really big deal. Each winter, starting around the end of the year, after the holidays, from January through the end of April, they have what they call the polo season here in Wellington. So one of the great things about that is they have polo matches every weekend, and they actually do them all week, but they're known for the polo matches over the weekend. So there's a lot there. It's a great social event. It's a great way to get out and meet people in the community. And they have specific communities here in Wellington that are very much geared to the equestrian community. I'm thinking of, like as an example, the Palm Beach Polo and Polo Club in Wellington. That's one. If you go there, most of the people are associated somehow with the equestrian. So we get a lot of people who know about horses, people who know about equestrians. Trust me, they know Wellington, Florida. The other thing they have in Wellington, it's the only one in the world actually, it's the Polo Hall of Fame. So if anyone was notable in the sport, you can see them highlighted here in the Hall of Fame. It's also called the National Polo Museum. It's the same building. It's in Wellington, and I've gone in there a lot of times. I like to go in there just to check it. It's never a lot of people in there, which I find ironic. And what's great about it, when I go there, the staff there is always willing to show me around, and they're like bragging about how great Wellington is when it comes to polo, and as well it should, I believe. The other thing that they do is they have a contest that's called the America's Cup. It's sort of like when you win, the team that wins the cup. It looks like almost like a Stanley Cup in hockey, and you get to write your team name and members on the cup. So they showcase it very proudly when you visit the Wellington Hall of Fame and Museum. So one of the cons when it comes to living in Wellington, Florida is, and it's related, is the traffic in those seasons, in the winter season, is intense. It's terrible. So the polo season, January through April, and actually I'll go a step further. Once we see like Thanksgiving, and the official start of the season is actually Columbus Day around mid-October, but starting right around Thanksgiving, really, through the end of April, the traffic in Wellington swells. There are people from around the world that go from circuit to circuit when it comes to polo. They'll be in Argentina one time of the year. They'll be in Wellington, obviously here in the winter. They'll be in Europe in another time of year. So our time are those months, and because of that, we have a big surge in population. So because of that, the traffic is actually quite bad. Now, if you go way back, Wellington was not even way back. I mean, like literally 20 years ago, Wellington, and maybe a little bit more, Wellington was a whole different place. The main road through Wellington is it's called State Road 7. Sometimes it's also coincides with Route 441, but let's call it State Road 7. That road, which is now a 4-lane highway going each way and a major road through the western communities, that road used to be, not that long ago, a little bit over 2 decades ago, was literally like a 1-lane highway. And if you go way back when, it was a dirt road. So it has taken the community and the government, in terms of planning. It's hard to keep up with the growth that they've experienced here in Wellington, which is actually a good thing, I believe. But it is a challenge for the government officials and the building committees and so forth to keep up with the growth here in Wellington. So it makes the traffic a little bit at times challenging. So one of the pros when it comes to living in Wellington, Florida, is that it's so close to downtown West Palm Beach. If you look at Wellington on a map, we are directly west, slightly south, but really directly west of downtown West Palm Beach. And I mention this because there is just a lot to do there in West Palm Beach. If you don't know about it, go to my channel. I've got plenty of videos on living in West Palm Beach, Florida. So when we go to do things, we have something like a big event, like for birthdays as an example. I've mentioned this in my video before. My daughter, who's turned 13 this past beginning of the year, had said, "Hey, Dad, I want to go to someplace special. I want to go to fancy Italian restaurant for my birthday." So what do? We go to Brio, which is a great Italian restaurant in downtown West Palm Beach. So it is rather nice to be so close to downtown West Palm Beach. I consider, having lived in many places, for those who don't know, I've mentioned some of this before, but I've lived in New York, and I've lived in the suburbs of New York. I've lived on Long Island. I lived in Westchester. So I know what it feels like between inner city living, because I lived in Manhattan. Wellington is like a big suburb, and that's how I would consider it. So if you're used to suburban type lifestyle, that you'll be comfortable in assimilating to Wellington, Florida. But again, going back to the pro, I like the fact that we can go to downtown West Palm Beach to do those special things. Great restaurants are there. They have the Kravitz Center, which is like the arts center. So they'll have concerts, like big name concerts. They'll do the season. So if you're like a Broadway buff, they'll emulate a lot of the Broadway shows that you find in New York City. And they'll have, you can buy tickets to the season, and they'll have shows there all the time. They have orchestras. They have even the Miami Ballet comes up from time to time. So if you're looking for cultural events, the Kravitz Center is a great place. Let me also expand on what there is in the downtown area of West Palm Beach. You have City Place. The people have been here a while. We still call it City Place. Today it's called the Square. It was formerly called Rosemary Square. I sometimes call it that as well. That's sort of like the center of town, and it's adjacent to the Javits Center. There's a lot of stuff in the plaza there. They have a big fountain in the middle where the kids sort of hang out. They always have entertainment there on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday in particular. They'll people basically drag their long lawn chairs out and sit there and listen to the music. It's actually quite fun. In the Christmas season and the holiday season in December, they have a lot going on. Their events. They have the wishing tree is in the middle of the plaza there too. It lights up at night. In the Christmas season, they'll have it go, playing to music. So, and also the other part about downtown West Palm Beach is actually what they call downtown, which is the Clematis area. Clematis is Clematis Street is the main street through that area. It ends down at the fountain, Centennial Fountain. So there's a lot of restaurants there. In this holiday season, there's Sandy the Sand Tree. They light her like as if she's a Christmas tree. She's a sandcastle. So there's a lot there. I need to mention this too. Next, so if you go over the bridge, there is a terrific beach, Palm Beach. It's one of the richest areas in the country. It's considered the fourth richest zip code in the United States. Well, the beach there is rather nice. You can just park your car along Ocean Boulevard and just check it out. I love to go there because it's one of the closest beaches for me to get to. I live in Wellington, by the way. It's one of the closest beaches for us who live in Wellington to get to, Palm Beach. And I love to go for the sunrises. They don't charge. You can park along Ocean Boulevard. There's not much competition. Don't know why to get a spot to watch it. But if you've never done it, I highly recommend checking out a sunrise here in Palm Beach, Florida. So let me give you one of the cons. One of the cons to living in Wellington, Florida is the weather. Now you might say, well, that's a pro. It truly is, but I'm going to state this from this perspective. If you're not a fan of humidity, if you've got a problem with high humidity, Wellington is not the place for you. So South Florida as a whole is quite a humid place. Our summers, let's call it June, July, and August, they're similar, to be completely frank, to the places like up in the Northeast, New York, Philadelphia, Boston. It's identical, those months. I mean, it actually is even hotter, in my opinion, in the Northeast compared here to Florida, because we get a lot of tropical rainstorms in the afternoon during our rainy season, which is what the summer is. So it'll rain here a lot in the afternoons in the summertime. So we are similar to up there. But when I say the con in regards to humidity, because that's the same, we have a longer summer. And so when you guys up north are starting to experience around Memorial Day, we've already been through it. Our April is pretty hot. Our March is sort of like March is the best month weather-wise, in my opinion, in Florida, in Wellington. But April, May, June, July, those are really humid months, and our September is also very humid. So when you guys are cooling down after Labor Day, we are still having summer here, and we have the humidity going on also at the same time. The other con when it comes to the weather is the hurricanes, and I mentioned September. September is the peak of hurricane season. The official start of hurricane season is June 1st, and it ends December 1st. But most of the hurricanes, most of the larger, more threatening storms come in the late summer to September, to early fall September. And that's when we have to be a little bit alert, because that's obviously a problem. And we as Floridians have learned to prepare for it. And that's one of the saving graces, that we've learned to deal with the what can be very violent storms here, of hurricanes here in South Florida. The other con in that regard is because living in Wellington, Florida, and South Florida as a whole, the hurricanes, your homeowner's insurance, especially if you're in an older home, it can be quite expensive. Some of the insurance carriers have actually decided to move out of Florida, so there's less insurance carriers that are offering their products here in Florida. They almost never have a problem with new construction, because the homes, as they're especially built in today, and in this we are here in 2022, they're built like fortresses. I mean, the homes here are very strong. So you won't have a problem insuring those. But if you have a home, let's say in 2000 or maybe before that, you can expect to pay more money when it comes to homeowners insurance. One of the pros when it comes to weather in Wellington, Florida is we are probably about 12 miles inland from the coast. So when it comes to those storms hitting us, we're a little bit protected because the people who get most affected are the people who are on the coast and or on the ocean. But by the time some of those really strong winds and the flooding, we don't really get flooding around here. Well, localized we do, but we don't get the flooding from the ocean and whatnot. So because we are that far inland, we are bared, or let's say we were sacrificed, I guess, of those really high winds. So it's a little bit there is an advantage, there's a pro living in Wellington versus places on the coast here in Florida. At the end, I'm going to cover some of the communities. If you're thinking about Wellington, Florida, you need to check out these communities. There are a handful of communities that I call premier communities here in Wellington, so stick around to the end. I'm going to go over some of those. One of the pros when it comes to living in Wellington, Florida is there is a lot to do. Now, this is related to the weather again a little bit. So in January, February, March, when you guys in the north, whether you live in Chicago, Washington State, Virginia, Massachusetts, all these places, I've seen all you guys that are relocating down here, so I know where you're coming from. When you're freezing in January and hanging in the house and hibernating, which being from New York, I experienced that. I know what it's like. People don't go out that much. We're out all the time here in Florida, in Wellington, Florida. So we have some of the best parks and things to do here. We have a couple of parks I'll mention. Pearson Park, they have all kinds of events there, whether it's soccer, whether it's baseball, whether it's basketball. They just have a lot to do there. And so if you have kids and you want to get them involved in sports and these teams, that's a great place for it. The other big park in the area is called Okeechobee Park. I play softball there. I'm part of a softball league. I'm part of a couple of softball leagues. And we play softball there. Literally, our season goes all year. So we are playing softball on the field in January. So when people are slowing down in the north, we are doing all kinds of things here. Now, and I mention too, water sports. We are on the ocean here in Florida. We're 12 miles in Wellington, but it's fast enough to get. So if you want to do kayaking and boating and we're the fishing capital of the world. If you like fishing, there's just a lot to do when it comes to water sports and everything in general when it comes to living in Wellington, Florida. Go ahead, hit that like button there in the corner. What that'll do is that'll help to get more and more people in to watch this video. It'll help to get more and more people in to watch this channel, because we would love to do is help more and more people move to this beautiful part of the world we call Palm Beach and South Florida. One of the pros when it comes to living in Wellington, Florida is there's a lot of shopping around here. So it's, like I said, I would qualify Wellington as a suburb. We have in the center of Wellington is the Wellington Green Mall, one of the nicer malls here in South Florida for certain. You have stores like Apple, you have Nordstrom's. In Christmas time, you get Santa Claus comes, so it's a very festive place in that regard. And not just that, around the Wellington Green Mall, there's just a lot of commerce. There's a lot of things outside of the mall that are still considered part of the mall, restaurants and that kind of stuff. So there's a lot there. Also, Wellington Green Mall is along the road I was telling you, the main road, State Road 7, Route 441. If you go just north, as Wellington grows and builds, as you go north, away from Wellington into Royal Palm Beach, there is a ton that they've built out there. A lot of good shops, again, restaurants. There are a lot of chain restaurants, I will say that. So if I'm going to give you a con here, some of the restaurants here, we have more restaurants than most places when it comes to like franchise type restaurants, and not as many as I would like unique restaurants like the Manhattan Ocean Club. When we lived in New York City, I used to love going to the Manhattan Ocean Club, or Plataforma in the Brazilian churrascaria in Manhattan. So we don't get as many of those here in Wellington, Florida. We'll get a lot of like the Olive Gardens and the Smoky Bones and Tijuana Flats and stuff like that. So that's a con. We get a lot of those kinds of restaurants, but the saving grace when it comes to that is, as I mentioned earlier, If you're interested in restaurants like the ones I mentioned, like the unique ones, you have Palm Beach Island, which has a ton of great places, and also downtown West Palm Beach. Now, I have lived here in Wellington 16 years, and I've seen a lot happen over those 16 years, and even just prior to that, there's a lot of growth. There is a ton of growth, and the village has done a very good job of managing the growth. They've added lots of things also as things have come along. They built this beautiful amphitheater, Wellington Amphitheater, and they have festivities there all the time. Like on Fridays and Saturday nights, they'll do a lot of tribute bands. I like it because some of the bands they play there are from music from my day and music I like. They'll do, like as an example, they'll do Led Zeppelin tribute band. They'll do the Styx tribute band. They just did last weekend Pat Benatar tribute band. So they do a lot of and newer stuff too, not just my stuff. They do a lot of music on the weekends in the amphitheater, and people just hang out on the lawn, and it's just nice. It's like going to an outdoor concert, and it's just a lot of fun. Also in that same area, they've got other stuff. They have a big, huge community pool, and you can take swimming lessons there. That's one thing to do there. You can buy a pass there for the season and enjoy the pool all year long and do your laps and all that kind of stuff. One thing I gotta say about swimming: if you live here in Wellington and you're a family with young kids, it is important that you teach your kids to learn how to swim, because what you will find is you will be invited. Now I have 3 kids that are a little bit older now, but when they were that age, you will find that they will be invited to lots of birthday parties. And in these birthday parties, they're either in people's homes that have pools in the backyard, or they'll do them in their clubhouse areas where they have resort-style pools in their community. So if you live in Florida, if you're moving to Florida, it is important, especially with young kids, that they learn how to swim. Another pro when it comes to living in Wellington, Florida, is they are a lot of A-rated schools here. The schools here in Wellington are considered high relative to the area, especially. They are A-rated schools. So you have the public schools are all A-rated, which is one of the attractions. We get people calling us from our videos asking about the schools a lot, and they all hear about Wellington and their schools. In general, Wellington has a good reputation for schools. It's not only good from the standpoint if you have kids or not, but it also helps when it comes to resale value, because even if you do not have kids, the fact that property values have held up very well here in Wellington, one of the reasons is they are perceived to have very, very good schools. Additionally, on the subject of schools, just because you're districted for a certain school does not mean you need to go to that school. We have other classifications of school here in Wellington, Florida, in Palm Beach, Florida, South Florida. We have magnet schools. We have we have private schools, of course. We have charter schools. My 3 kids, most of the time, when they were living here and going through the school system, most of the time they did not go to the schools they were districted for. They have some great schools, charter schools and magnet schools that they were able to attend that it might be a little bit of a ride. One of the high schools that they went to was a bit of about 45-minute ride, but it was so worth it. They've gone into such great colleges because of it, and that's the other thing. The other pro to living in Wellington and in Florida as a whole is the colleges are outstanding. Whether it's University of Florida or Florida State, we have terrific universities, which are also, by the way, public universities. So again, let me finish up here. One of the benefits, one of the pros when it comes to living in Wellington, Florida, is the schools. The pros to living in Wellington, Florida, it's a big pro for me, and I'd like to think it's a pro for lots of you people out there, is I find Wellington, Florida to be very patriotic. If you look around town, you can just see this there's just a ton of flags everywhere you go. And I'm proud. I'm proud of our country, proud of the United States, and I think that, the fact that we were able to show it off here in Wellington is one of the attributes of Wellington I really do appreciate. In Wellington, they have the Wellington Veterans Memorial. This is a tribute to people that have served our country and died in our serving us and our rights and to live here in this great country. So if you go there, they have statues of representing all the wars that we as a country have fought, going way back into the Civil War, the World Wars, and and it goes all the way up till now, where they have a statue there for the war on terrorism. And one of the other unique things that we have here that I really appreciate is the 9/11 memorial. So September 11th, 2001, we know what happened in New York City. We have a lot of people here, and if you don't know that, in Wellington, Florida, that are from the New York area. And they built, next to the government buildings, they built a tribute to the people that perished on that dreadful day. I was there at the 9/11 memorial on the 20-year anniversary recently, and you can just see the people. People came out, a lot of people came out, and you can hear the stories of people visiting, telling you where they were. Everyone knows where they were on that particular day. I like to take my kids there on September 11th, whether it's the 20-year anniversary or not. I want to tell the story because they weren't alive, but they were very young, at least two of them. One of them was very young back then. And so I want them to know the story of what happened. They actually have a piece of the World Trade Center there, an actual piece of the World Trade Center there. They have a large fountain. They have the names of everyone that perished on that day. So there's just a lot of stuff there. And again, I like the fact that whether it's the 9/11 Memorial, what they call the Patriot Memorial, or whether it's the Veterans Memorial, everywhere you go, even the Wellington Green Wall, there's a huge flag. Everywhere you go in Wellington, there is a flag because we in Wellington are very proud of our country that we call the United States. So a little bit about our story. When we moved here to Wellington, Florida, we knew after exploring the whole state, we knew that we wanted to live in Palm Beach. We first explored Boca Raton, Florida, which is a little bit south of us. It's a nice place, but much more dense, much more crowded and city and whatnot. And very expensive too, for that matter. So, and I'll get on the prices of houses here in a minute. So when you are in, let's say, West Boca Raton, and you're traveling all the way to the east part, to the ocean, let's say, unlike where it is in Wellington, where it's relatively easy to get there, it's not so much in Boca. In Boca Raton, it's very crowded. And so that was one of the things that for us, we didn't, that's not the lifestyle we wanted. But it might be for you. It doesn't mean it's this because that's a life. It doesn't mean how you should feel. The other thing is that the prices of houses were definitely a lot more expensive. So let me go into some of the communities and some of the new construction stuff. The communities in that area, in Boca and Del Rey, right now, if there's a lot of communities, new construction communities in West Del Rey, northwest Boca Raton, that like Lotus Grand is one there. They just finished up Boca Bridges. The minimum to get in those new communities is about $1 million. Lotus Grand, their pricing there is just now starting to get out and being released. You're looking at $1 million in that area. There's a couple of other nice places there. Valencia Grand is opening there as well. It's a GL Homes place, is the builder. So it's very expensive. So when you look at new construction here, there's really no new construction in Wellington itself, but there are some places on the outskirts, like suburban Lake Worth, which where we border, places like the Fields, Saddlewood. There's a new one coming up called Windsong. Before I go any further on new construction, if you're going to look at new construction in Wellington or in Palm Beach, it is important to get independent representation, and the only way you can do that is if you go there on your first visit with your realtor. If you want to know what that is, there's our information on the screen again. Reach out. I'd love to tell you the importance of getting independent representation when visiting new construction. Getting back to some of the other going to some of the other communities, we have some of the best communities, I feel, that were built around 2005, 2004, 2000, when the market really took off the last time. And to review them, and I think they're great. Versailles at Wellington is one. I'll get back to that in a second. Olympia is another one. I like Olympia a lot. Olympia is right across the street from the Wellington Green Wall. All you do is you come out in your community and you go directly across the State Road 7, 441 into the mall. So the location could not be any better. Big community, Olympia, it's 1,700 homes. But the amenities are quite strong. You have some houses that are like median houses, and you have some very expensive houses. You get home, there are homes there that are over $1 million. I tell people, if you buy a house in there, for less, rest assured you live with you live with millionaires when it comes to being there. And you can get in there actually fairly reasonably inexpensive, I feel. So that's one of the communities I would definitely look at. There's Oakmont is another community. Story to that one is when they were building that way back then, and they first built, it was all the landscape was dying, and they didn't know why. And it turns out they built it on a firing range, like for guns, and so there was a lot of lead in the soil, and so they fixed it eventually. But that's a great community. Across the street from it, and also adjacent to the Wellington Green Mall, is a community by the name of Castellina. Castellina they've got a lot of ranch houses in there. Prices have held up in there so well. I'm surprised how well they've held up. If you're looking for a good ranch house, those are great in there. So that's a good community. Going back to Versailles, Wellington, they have some big houses here. So they are houses that are about 6,000 square feet, which are huge. If you were to buy a new construction home for that's about 6,000 square feet, you will spend north of $2 million, no doubt. In fact, they don't even make them. If you go to these new construction homes, and we are a new construction co-broker, so we do a lot of new construction living in Palm Beach, Florida. So when we see these communities, most of the homes there are, a big house there is 3,000, 3,500 square feet. You typically don't see much at 4,000 or even more than that. We have in places like Olympia has some too. In Versailles, Wellington, there are lots of 6,000 square feet homes, and you can get them at a reasonable price, especially like if you were to look at the new construction alternative. South Florida, Palm Beach, Florida, Wellington, Florida. Wellington, it's not just about polo, it's a way of life.